socialising on the 28th of December? Or are you like, nah, I want a bit of peace and quiet. Everybody out now, all right? I want my time. I want to chill out a little bit. If you want to get in touch on that would be great. Right, my next guest is a woman who's bravely sharing her breast cancer story. This is after she was diagnosed last Christmas. And she's now appearing in a new TV advert with Cancer Research UK. Hannah Gretton is from Milford-on-Sea in the New Forest, and Hannah joins us this morning. Hello. Morning, Hannah.
Good morning.
Hello. I don't know whether to say Happy Christmas or Happy New Year. Any opinions on that?
Both.
Yeah, absolutely. Hannah, tell me about your story then, because you got your diagnosis at Christmas time. What was that like for you, learning that news at that particular time of year?
It was really difficult because I'd found a lump in my left breast. I don't know why that morning I put my hand on my left breast, but I did, and I found it, the lump. And yeah, got diagnosed and seen very, very quickly. It was difficult to comprehend, but I kind of processed it quite quickly. I went into quite a dark place for about a week. But came out of that week thinking, well, 1 in 2 of us are going to get cancer in a lifetime, unfortunately. And I had very long hair and decided I wanted to cut it off for the Little Princess Trust. So 2 girls have got my long hair now as wigs who are suffering from cancer. And I came out from that dark place, very determined.
Can I ask, from that time that you found that lump, and you probably have that innate feeling that you're like, this is not right. So, because I think we do with our bodies, don't we? Between that time of finding that lump and then finding out, that has got to be the most difficult time to cope with, I imagine, the not knowing.
Yeah, the not knowing is really quite difficult. So you've got this, mental torment in your head of trying not to think about it too much, but also I kind of had this gut feeling that it was going to be cancer. I don't know why. I can't describe it why. But yeah, I kind of knew, but I also didn't want to tell people around me until I actually knew that it was cancer, because I didn't want to, upset or have other people stressing. I wanted to kind of deal with it myself.
Which means at that point you're in a very lonely place.
Very lonely place. And it's hard. It's hard mentally. And I called it the cancer roller coaster. And once you're on it, you're kind of having your treatments and everything, and everyone's wonderful around you, and, your doctors, your nurses, NHS, everyone. But yeah, it is a very, very lonely place. And without my music, I always say, if somebody wants to torture me, take away my music. But I had my music, and I just listened to my music and just tried to keep myself mentally in check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. You wanted to be in an advert. Why were you so keen to be in this advert that we're going to be seeing at some point soon?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to do a lot of fundraising. I wanted my cancer to have a purpose. I know that sounds a bit mad, but I wanted to have some kind of control over it. So when my oncologist, Dr. Hugo, asked me to be in the TV advert for Cancer Research UK, even before we finished his sentence, I was like, yes, I'll be in it. And then we've got involved in more and more sort of adverts. And as I said, 1 in 2 of us are going to get it. So we need to talk about it a lot more, and it needs to be more of a conversation, just generally in the world.
We've got Hugo with us. We're going to chat to him in a moment. But when are we going to start seeing you in this advert? Where's it going to be?
So I'm already in the Cancer Research UK TV advert that started last year. This year. I'm thinking it's New Year already. And then I've been in the Lymington Times, the Bournemouth Echo, and then I did an interview yesterday that comes out today on BBC South, and then doing this morning with you. So, yeah.
And how is that, because you're talking about something very difficult, very personal. How do you cope with sharing your story, or does that help you cope with the whole thing?
it's really quite difficult because obviously you're talking about your journey, and so you're reliving what you've been through, and it's amazing how your brain allows you to forget so much about what you've been through. But I've always tried to remain very, very positive throughout it all. So, sometimes it's happening in a week's time, so there's a lot of anticipation and, getting things ready. And then other times, like yesterday, I got a phone call in the morning and I was being interviewed by 11:30. But yeah, I get so nervous. I don't know why.
Do you?
But I just, I do get nervous, but I just think anything I can do to help somebody else in the same situation or put somebody's mind at rest, then I will do it. So, yeah.
Okay, let's speak to your oncologist then, live from Mexico, which is great. Hannah's a consultant oncologist from University Hospital Southampton, Dr. Hugo de la Peña. Hello, very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Hello, I'm absolutely fine. How's Mexico, by the way? Yeah, you're having a nice time in Mexico, Hugo.
Yeah. No storms here. Very sunny.
Hey, oh, go on, tell us what's the temperatures there? Can you see some sunshine? Is it all beautiful? Is there some nice beach?
Oh yes, yeah. No, it is nice. 5 degrees in the morning, with a 25 by lunchtime.
Oh, right. Okay. Hey, listen. Why did you put Hannah forward for this advert? Why did you think that she would be a good face and voice for this advert?
Well, I mean, we knew now the technology and all the precision medicine that we use and the clever medicines, we know that the cancers like the Hannah had, we know that 95% of those cancers melt away with treatment. And we knew very early on that Hannah's cancer was melting away before our very eyes. And so I knew that her cancer was going to disappear before she got to surgery. And that's exactly what happened to her. But one of the things that Hannah said that stuck and it's probably lived with me forever is, 1 in 2 of us will get cancer in our lifetimes. Yeah, that's very shocking. But Hannah, her mentality was, well, by me having cancer, that means that I'm taking it away from someone else. And that is just something that, I've never seen it like that. And it's just so sweet and just an amazing woman that she is. So we invited her and luckily she said yes.
Hannah, that's pretty crazy to hear, isn't it? I'm sure Hugo sees lots of people and has treated lots of people over the years, but he felt that you would be right and that the right fit for this and the right personality for this.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I love it and I love doing all this work. So yeah.
Yeah, well, good for you. Hugo, tell us a little bit more. So you're saying 95% of this treatment, it melts the cancer? That's the words that you use. That's phenomenally high rates of cure.
Oh, absolutely. Just to put the things into perspective, in 1970 we used to cure 25% of cancers. Currently, we cure 50% of cancers. In the next 10 years, we're going to cure 75% of cancers. So that means that 3 out of 4 people with cancer will be cured in the next 10 years. And that is not a wish. That is not an optimistic view. That's going to happen. And the reason we're so confident it's going to happen is because breast cancers already, when you take all breast cancers as a whole, we cure 80% of breast cancers are cured. So 8 out of 10 women will be cured from breast cancer. But there are some cancers, like the one that Hannah had, which are HER2-positive breast cancer. That's a subtype of cancers. And some of those cancers, 95% of cancers we will cure. And they do melt away. They disappear by the time they get to surgery. So at the moment, patients like Hannah still have to have surgery, but it will in the near future, a proportion of patients won't need surgery at all because there's nothing to remove. The cancer is completely gone. But at the moment, we still need to take a little bit of the breast out to confirm that the cancer has disappeared, and that's exactly what happened to Hannah.
Wow, so I'm getting that there's been a remarkable progression in how you cure and how you treat cancer then since, well, you sort of mentioned since the 1970s. I assume that's due to science, that's due to research.
Absolutely. So that's exactly what Cancer Research UK does. And currently we estimate that there's 1.2 million people in the UK, just in the UK, 1.2 million people in the last 40 years that have been cured from cancer or saved from cancer, that otherwise they wouldn't be here. So when you think, now Christmas time, New Year, so you can actually say that there's 1.2 million people celebrating Christmas and New Year now that they wouldn't be a few years ago. And it's all because precision medicine. And precision medicine is clever medicine, it's intelligent medicine. It's attacking the cancer where it hurts. We're trying to move away from the chemotherapies, although we still use chemotherapy, but we're trying to use clever treatments that target cancers depending on the genetics, the biology, the behavior, the receptors. And we can be more clever in targeting cancer with less toxicity and improving the cure rates. And in my wish list, I wish we could all have our cancer patients on clinical trials, because it's only in clinical trials when you can achieve and improve the cure rates. And if you have to accept that a cancer cannot be cured, then that cancer has to become a chronic disease. On a clinical trial, just very, very, very briefly, you put patients into the best current treatment you have versus the best treatment you currently have, plus a wonder drug. And it is that wonder drug, or what I sometimes call cancer kryptonite, what allows you to cure more people and achieve higher cure rates and longer survivals.
Wow. Okay. Medicine is incredible, and it's come a long way. Thank you so much for telling us all about that. Nice to have you on the programme there. Dr. Hugo de la Pena, who is consultant oncologist from University Hospital Southampton. And you heard from Hannah as well, who has been sort of bravely sharing her breast cancer story. She was diagnosed last Christmas. She's in a TV advert with Cancer Research UK, Hannah Gretton from Milford-on-Sea in the New Forest. Right, BBC Radio Solent at 7:23.